first and foremost, again, my name is Carla. I'm an admissions coach here at iPEC. I have the esteemed privilege of speaking with people when they are on this path of considering coaching, considering an opportunity to change their lives and change other lives for the better. Energy Explorers is a wonderful series that we have that gives us an opportunity to fulfill our mission of raising the consciousness of the world one person at a time. Not only are we certified professional coaches, but we're a community. That's one of the things I love most about this. We are a big community of helpers with big hearts and incredible stories. And this is a platform where we get to invite some of our amazing alumni back to share their stories, highlight how they're using their talents to impact the world, to raise the consciousness, and using their drive and their highest selves to live their own purpose. And we have this amazing opportunity to hear about Melody's journey today, and I'll introduce her in a few. These conversations give us an opportunity to get to the heart of what it really means to be a certified professional coach and the journeys that we're all on and continue to be on through this amazing thing that we call life. So as we go along, you can drop your questions, as I said, in the Zoom Q&A section or the Facebook comments section. We don't usually see them if they're in the chat box of the Zoom. So just keep that in mind as you're asking your questions. And let's just see who we've got. Munich, Germany. Hi, Petra. We're delighted that you're here. I always love seeing our alumni and our viewers from all around the world, just showcasing that iPEC is this incredible global community of helpers. So anyhow, all right, well, I want to make the most of the time that we have because Melody has an amazing story to share and amazing tips to share as well. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest today. And I apologize if I stumble over your beautiful last name, but I'm going to do my best. Melody Pourmoradi. How did I do? Wonderful. Okay. Is an author, a twin girl mom. She's a certified empowerment coach and the creator of GiRLiFE Certification Program. This is a program that trains women to create income-generating girl empowerment workshops. I love that. She believes that when girls are taught about not only the nutrition of the body, but also the nutrition of the mind with a strong emphasis on their own personal power, they become unstoppable. And isn't that true? GiRLiFE is quickly becoming an important catalyst in the girls' empowerment movement, with hundreds of women globally sharing Melody's curriculum. In her newest passion project, she has launched a podcast, and that's called Empowering Her, with an emphasis on empowering women to empower girls. So Melody, you're speaking my love language here. There is so much to just unpack and talk about. But first and foremost, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the beautiful, warm welcome. It's always a pleasure to hang out with iPEC because literally this is what started it all for me, and I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much. It's our pleasure as well. And I think it's always fun for me, selfishly, and also for people that are watching to really hear about your journey to iPEC as a start, because whoever's out there watching, either they'll relate because their journey was similar, or maybe they're at this sort of pivot point in their own life where they're trying to make that empowered choice about moving forward with coaching and a coach training program. So would you mind starting with your story?
Absolutely. I would love to. Well, basically it started like this. I mean, I feel like I was searching for most of my young life for something that moved me, something that excited me, a career that I could just like jump out of bed excited to be a part of. And And we were raised, like the way that I was raised was my father was always like, we need to work. We need to, you got to wake up early. You got to have a strong work ethic, which I was totally on board with from a really young age. And he would take us into work. It was a family business, which I always say was his first baby in the world. He's got 4 human babies and 1 work baby, right? And so it meant everything to him for us to be a part of this family business. And we were in the business of like importing teapots and gift items and things like that. Beautiful business, right? But I didn't feel a very strong connection to it. I loved being with my family. I loved that this was something we all got to do, but I wasn't like, there was no soul in it for me. And so it was kind of one of those things that was understood when you graduate, you're going to be a part of the family business. You're going to join that entrepreneurial life. And this is what we're going to do. And I kind of just was like, okay, like I'll do that. Sure. And then I graduated from school in Toronto. I'm actually from Toronto. I graduated from school and I went into the business, and unfortunately it wasn't just giving me that, like I knew I loved to work. I just didn't love what was going on over there. Like there was no, like, I keep saying this, but I'm going to say it again, because in my program, we talk about heart work. Like it wasn't the work of my heart. And so it didn't fuel me. It didn't give me energy. And so the way that the world works and the way things happened, I met the love of my life. He was visiting from New York, and we started dating, and it was this long distance relationship. Ultimately, we were like, we want to get married and we got to decide where we're going to live. So we moved here to New York. And of course, I was no longer a part of the family business because it was based out of Canada. And so all of a sudden, I had all this room for opportunity and possibility and curiosity. And that's when, for the first time, I was like, wait, so what do I do now? Like, what's my heart work now? Maybe now I get to find that, like that thing that gets me so excited to jump out of bed. And so synchronistically, I was watching something. I don't know if I was online or channel surfing. I have no idea what I was doing. And I saw this profession of life coaching. And I feel like all coaches have, like, especially like the early coaches, we have a similar story. We hear about it and we're like, what on earth is this? This sounds amazing. And the more I read up on it, the more excited I got, the more I could see myself doing this kind of work. And so I found iPEC and I spoke to Deborah, and it was like, yes, 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 and yes. Where do I sign up? Let's go.
Wow.
I was super nervous. Don't get me wrong, but I was like, let's go.
Yeah. I was going to say that it sounds like you were like, this is exactly what I was meant to do. I'm curious. So you met the love of your life and left. So that was sort of a circumstance that took you away from the family business. Yeah. But for those out there who are right now in a space where they may be doing work that it's work and it's a job and it's a paycheck and all that great stuff. And what are some of those signs that you were feeling? Because sometimes we don't understand what our mind and our heart and our body are telling us. So there's someone out there that's at a job and it's checking a lot of the boxes. How might they recognize that it might be time to look somewhere else?
Yeah. I mean, we were just talking about this before you came on the Zoom call, Carla, with Zach. And we were saying, like, when Monday comes around and you're just not lit up, you're not excited, because we were both talking about how excited we are that it's a Monday morning and we get to do what we love. And if this sounds woo, let it sound woo, because this is just how I feel. But like, I get excited for Monday mornings. So I'm not saying everyone should get excited, but if Monday morning comes around and you're like, oh gosh, I just don't know how I'm going to face another day, that's a little sign. Just really checking in with yourself, mind, body, spirit. We tend to turn down the voice of our intuition so often. We're just programmed to look outwards and not look inwards, but to really remind yourself that this is one life. And if you're not lit up by what you're doing, not even a little, that to me is a little bit of a sign. And for me, the sign was, and I didn't recognize it at the time. And again, circumstantially, like it all kind of worked out for me. And who knows what would have happened if I hadn't met Nav and I hadn't moved here. But, we get to create our own reality on the regular. So, really getting in touch with yourself. And for me, the sign was, looking back, I was depressed. I was truly depressed. I mean, we spend the biggest chunk of our lives, if we're not sleeping, we're at work. So right. What are you going to make of that? Like, how can you create something in the world, do something to make a living that has such meaning for you? And that's what I was looking for. And I'm so grateful to have found it.
Yeah, I love that. And I appreciate that notion of, you sometimes don't recognize it. And it's so easy to think, well, this has to do with something else. But so that very simple action of checking in with yourself, recognizing those emotions, naming them, and being comfortable feeling them too, giving yourself permission that this is okay. Like, let's sit in this and let's explore it and not try and sort of push through it, which I think a lot of us do, right? We've got things to do. We're busy. Life moves at a quick pace. We don't have time for all of this. As we continue in the conversation, we can share some maybe thoughts around how to set that up. One of the things that we're going to be talking about is courage. And because that is courageous, to even just listen to yourself and give a name to what you're feeling is a very courageous step. And your heart is very solidly rooted in empowerment, in courage for going out and doing what you feel called to do, and using women as the conduit to empowering young girls, and in the process, empowering themselves by not only creating a vision for the world that they want to be in, but also creating an income stream. So is this how you started? You know, those memes, it's like how it started, how it's going. Like, right. Is this how it started for you, or is this how it's going?
Well, I mean, it always started. That's a great question. I think it always started with the desire to empower women, I don't think we can really empower anyone, but we can introduce them to their superpowers. We can teach them tools, and then they can empower themselves. So I think that was always part of my mission. Loved coaching. I was coaching one-on-one. I was like, all right, like, how can I take this to the next level? Because I was reaching a point where I was like, there's only so much we could do one-on-one. One-on-one is amazing. But I was like, I want to scream my message off of the rooftops. How do I do that? And for me, with GiRLiFE, that was me finding other like-minded women who wanted to create change for the future generation, and were willing to link arms with me and just go out there in their own communities. And just, it's like, what I love is they're empowering them. First, they're saying yes to themselves. Like, let's empower ourselves first. And when we do that, that is the greatest gift that we have to give to the next generation, because we lead by example, but then we show up for them. We create safe spaces where they can feel seen and heard and acknowledged, right? Coaching tool 101 because we forget to do that for our kids. And so in these spaces, that's what we do. And so it started with one-on-one, and now it's one-to-many, which I'm so lit up by, because I meet the most incredible women. So walk us through a little bit of how a woman would come to you or to create this platform, and what that looks like, and sort of the mission behind it, and how it's working. Yeah, I think there are so many women who have it on their hearts to empower girls. For, like, somehow the women that find our program are always like, I've always wanted to do this type of work. I've always wanted to work with girls. I just didn't know what that would look like. And so the women who come to us, we basically provide them with a curriculum of workshops that they can teach to girls in their communities. I mean, some of the titles I'll give you, I know they'll resonate because there's So again, iPEC was my starting point. So it all comes together, but my words create my world. I am responsible for the world I see. Gratitude, meditation, intuition, and finding your voice. My diversity shines. So a curriculum that teaches women how to teach girls how very unique they are, how their voices matter, and how to rock their confidence, right? Because a girl's self-confidence peaks at age 9, which to me is the saddest stats. And we believe we're changing the stats slowly, but surely we're changing the stat. But these girls need to get the tools. They need to know that they only get better. They only get better. And it's not, we don't have to stop raising our hand. Like girls stop raising their hand in middle school, typically. And then that sets off this trend of the types of jobs that they can take on. And them, once again, like not speaking up and not speaking their truth. So anyways, I digress because I'm so passionate about the topic, but yeah, so women come, they get the curriculum, but they also get the business model. We teach them like, how do you actually take this out to your community? How do you earn for this passion work? And, turn it into, some start as a side hustle, but turn it into your life's work, your legacy.
Yeah. I have like goosebumps all over my body from a couple of the things that you're sharing. Some of them are just that, from a realization and sadness perspective of the girl's confidence peaks at 9, and the opportunity to shift that is such a powerful one and an important one. And then I prior to this role worked in an industry, in a business that was supporting other women to go grow their own businesses. And I'd be curious to ask what you see from when a woman comes to you and says, I think I'm curious about this. I'd like to do this, with the tools to go out then and create this. Tell me a little bit about the transformation that you see with the women who are leading and taking your mission out into the world.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's probably the transformation is one of the greatest gifts that I get to witness. I see their lives changing literally, because as I mentioned, they're first and foremost giving this to themselves. So when they're going through our curriculum and they're learning about, how their thoughts create their world is rocks. They're like, what? So first and foremost, them experiencing this and having the young girl within, right? Because I always teach them, I'm like, I want you to take your 8-year-old self along for this entire journey. And when you're learning this curriculum, first and foremost, learn it for yourself. And then let's take it to the girls. So you see just a personal empowerment journey first and foremost. And then when they turn it around and they take it out there to the girls, to see them stepping into their ability to earn unapologetically for this good work that they're doing, because so many women who are in this type of field, coaching fields, healing modality, like whatever it may be, they're like, I can't charge for this kind of work. Like, I just can't do it. Like, how could I charge? I've got to give it away. And there's a beauty to doing that 100%. But we must first be sustained financially for the great work that we're doing. And we also want to change the narrative for our girls, right? We don't want to teach them that if you've got something valuable and if you want to turn that into your life's work, you need to just give it all away for free. We want this valuable work to be compensated. And so just watching them adopt that mindset and understand that when you actually charge for your workshops, you are raising the vibration of girls everywhere. Like that is the gift you give, because when people pay for your workshop, they show up. It's this beautiful thing that happens, right? Imagine if iPEC was free. Would people show up for all the modules, right?
Yeah.
I'm watching them go through all these micro transformations. And then of course, ultimately like rocking their girls' empowerment business, choosing their name and watching like them on Instagram, posting photos and seeing like the testimonials from the parents. So it's just the most beautiful journey to witness.
I love it. I love it because you're right. There's there's value, there's that self-worth, showing up, believing that I am powerful and that I am worth it, that what I have to give to this world is worth it. And then the girls are watching. You're right, they're always watching. As parents, I think we kind of sometimes even forget that our children are watching. Mm-hmm. And there are those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, like we were talking about at the start, like you sometimes don't realize how you can impact someone just by your example, just by the words that you share. And so what you've created is this beautiful circle of just, growth and impact and kind of giving back over and over again from both parties. Congratulations. It's really amazing.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So for folks out there who are watching and thinking, wow, she can do it. She did it. She must be special. She must be smarter than me, faster, stronger, better, has more resources than I do to go out and create her life's work. Again, going back to this idea of courage and empowerment, and how would, I guess, if someone out there is thinking like, I have this germ of an idea, but they're stuck. Yeah. Talk a little bit about how you would approach that and what your thoughts are.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much I want to say, not enough time for everything I want to share, but first of all, knowing that what you have is valuable beyond measure. Like you've got a gift. Each and every one of the people on this call have a gift to share that only you can share in your unique way. Like I'm doing it in my way. I want to see you rock it in your way. And I know that we all get so nervous and so scared and like, what will people think? What about failure? Like all the things that will come up, and they will come up. I'm here to tell you, like, it's not going to be, it's trial, it's error, it's learning. But just don't rob people of that gift. That's the first thing I want to share. And you hear people saying all the time, like, she could do it, but I could never do it. I'm here to tell you, and you've heard this before, but if I can do this, you can so do this. I suffered with anxiety as a young girl, like severe anxiety. I still struggle with anxiety a lot. But something that continues to come up for me, and I invite you to consider this as well, is when you're scared, first of all, speak your truth, even if your voice shakes. That's a quote I heard years ago that helped me step in, because my voice was shaken. I was nervous. I wasn't sure. All I knew, though, is that I had something, this one thing about girls' empowerment that was so on my heart, and I felt like I needed to share it. And I allowed my desire for impact to be greater than my fear. Mm-hmm. And so I invite anyone on this call who's having those thoughts, who's needing that little bit of courage, which I know is inside of you. But think about the impact. Think about the people who you will impact. Think about how you'll impact your own life and your own family by stepping into your life's work. I mean, you're here for a reason, right? You guys are coaches for a reason, but now you need to share. Now you need to share your gift.
Yeah. What your why needs to be greater than your fear, your impact. Yeah, absolutely. I just want to take a second and remind people that if you have questions for Melody, you can pop them in the Facebook chat. You can pop them in the Zoom chat, and join us for this amazing conversation about courage, about empowerment, and about the opportunity that we all have to have an impact and truly create the future that we want to create through a number of different avenues. So your voice was shaking when you were putting yourself out there. Now you've also written a book. So there's a lot of courage in that as well. Talk a little bit about that process and what that was like for you and yeah.
Yeah. So the book writing was awesome. The process of once I had my idea, I was very excited to put pen to paper. it came through me very naturally, but the putting it out there was a little bit harder, right? Like putting ourselves out there one layer more, a little bit, a little bit every day, a little bit more. And that book publishing process was tough for me. It was scary. It was messy. It was all the things, but I knew I was going to do it. I knew at the end of the day, I was going to do it. So I put it out there. It wasn't perfect. Like, I think so often, so many of us don't put our craft, our whatever it may be, our mission, our project, our coaching out there because we are just waiting for perfection and we're struggling with imposter syndrome and all the things. But like just leaning into this idea that there just isn't perfect. And I think for a very long time, I was waiting to get my messaging to be perfect, to start GiRLiFE, to put the book out, to start the podcast. And ultimately, I learned to take super messy but inspired action, and that's how I took one tiny step at a time. Like really, little by little, I was able to push through my anxiety, and little by little, like that fear of being seen. Right, like the more we put ourselves out there, the more we're seen, and we're so scared to be seen. Why?
Yeah, as seen as ourselves. Versus what we think the world wants to see has probably, I imagine just that thought in and of itself has already stopped so many incredible, impactful things from happening.
For sure.
So I heard you say small, impactful steps and tiny baby steps. One inspired action at a time. I think that was a great statement. So what other, I guess, not to put you on the spot, but if you had to think back to these babies that you've birthed besides your twins,
right?
And, the facing something and being scared, what are some additional tips that you might have for someone who is in that moment where they are gearing up, but they haven't yet found that 20 seconds of courage?
Yeah. Again, I think we get tripped up by like the full picture, right? I remember when I became a coach, I was like, okay, I've got to get the website up. I've got to have an Instagram page. I've got to have a Facebook page. I've got to be on YouTube, like all the things. And we feel like until we do every single one of those things, we can't start. And I just think that's a lie. Like ready is a lie. Start before you're ready. Right. Yeah. Because you'll never really be ready. There's going to be a lot to learn. You're going to put one foot in front of the other. You're going to start that website and then you're going to pivot because you're going to be like, well, I need to add this. I need to add that. And so looking back, it was never perfect. It was never going to be perfect. But as coaches, like, we don't need websites to get started, right? We don't need an office to get started. Like there's so much that I think we hide behind and we say, I should do this. I should do that. I should have this. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but we should on ourselves all the time. Stop shoulding on yourself, right? Stop with the shoulds and step into like what is one step you can take today to take your coaching out there? What is it? Do you need to make a phone call to someone that you're connected with who you think might be a potential client? Is there some sort of community resource you can use who might introduce you to clients? Can you put your business card on a bulletin board? Can you go onto a Facebook group today and comment with your expertise, add value to somebody's life? Like what's one small, tiny action that you could take today without looking at this full big picture of I need to have a full client load and, I've got to charge this much and I've got just like one tiny thing. And so, I mean, and all roads for me lead back to perfection paralysis. I think we all struggle with this to a certain degree, and we're waiting to get all our ducks in a row and all the stars to align. And again, it's just not going to happen. What will happen is when you take action, you're going to learn. right?
Mm.
Clarity. I think it's Marie Forleo who says clarity comes from action, not thought. So we can think about something till the cows come home, but until we actually do something, however big or small, we're not going to get closer to that goal.
Mm.
So we're all kind of over here. We need to move a little bit lower down into our hearts and take one inspired action.
Yeah. Ready. Did you say ready is a myth?
Ready is a lie. Ready is a lie. And we need to start before we're ready because we're never going to be ready. And we're just not.
I might have to put that on a t-shirt. That might be a whole separate, you might have a whole other like separate business idea going on here. You've dropped some fantastic graphic t-shirt lines while we've been on the conversation. So you have two daughters, twins, who are seeing you do this. Are they going through the program as well? And what do you learn from them? That was a stacked question. I'm so sorry.
No, but
however you'd like.
I love talking about my girls. So I have 15-year-old twins. They just turned 15. I was about to say 14, but they are now 15. And so I started the program when they were 7, and I was welcoming girls into our home and teaching them all the principles of self-love and self-confidence. And so my daughters were like the first participants in our workshops. And so they did go through it. And I just have a really funny story to share, is that during our very first workshop, my daughter, one of my twins, she placed a sticky note on my back that said, "Kick me." Okay, but why am I sharing this with you guys? First of all, because it is so damn funny. It didn't feel funny at the time when I found the note. Of course, I was understanding she was sharing mom in her home with all these young girls, all of that. So I was definitely able to find the humor in it later. The reason why I share this is because I accounted in my mind. I thought I had accounted for everything. The workshop was going to be perfect. Everything was laid out. I had every resource. I had a full class of girls. I had my content, everything. But you know what? This came out of left field.